Each year, we honor those who are no longer with us, who have finished their journey here. And we all come from somewhere, and we return to somewhere. And we return home. That's what I call it. In between time, we share our pilgrimage in this earthly plane. So I thank you for being here to honor these wonderful residents, because they're so important to us. We're going to take a minute to quiet our minds, leave the rest of the day where it is, and I have a little piece of music to play for you. It's called Homeward Bound. Isn't that where all we are? We're all homeward bound. I thank you for being here to honor the memory of residents who are no longer on life's pilgrimage with us. I have attempted to include a passage in the tradition that was important to each of them. This is a time of remembrance of who they were, how we keep their memory within our hearts, and give thanks for their presence in our lives. We recognize their lives, legacy, and how much they have changed us. And as we come to Thanksgiving, as November is recognized for Thanksgiving, what better way to remember our loved ones than at this time? We remember them at the rising sun and at its going down. We remember them at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter. We remember them at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring. We remember them at the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer. We remember them at the beginning of the year and when it ends. We remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. There is a cycle to life, those things we all experience. There is a time for everything, joy and sorrow. Let us remember the ways we all experience life and how our loved ones wish to be remembered and continue to lovingly live in our hearts. Do not stand at my grave and weep. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. We live in a time of COVID in all its variants. This time of pandemic reminds us of the fragility of life, but also the resilience and strength of the human spirit. We are learning in this time of transformation a way of seeing all aspects of life, all of life's joys and sorrows. We are learning to live with intentionality. Do not put aside something that needs to be said or engaging in an action that needs to happen. We may be unsure of the future, but during this time, we learn to live life fully, on joy and sorrow. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed out with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again at your heart, and you shall see in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep on your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balance. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. And now we remember, we rejoice in differences, knowing that we are all brothers and sisters, connected in creation, Each of us is filled with diverse gifts we can share. Let us remember all the gifts and uniqueness of those we have known. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. You know, we are in this world to live in community. I think we all know that here. Supporting and learning from one another. This is where we find our purpose and life's meaning. We are not alone. Those we remember today have given our life meaning. Strange is our situation on earth. Each of us comes from a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we know: that man is here for the sake of other men. Above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends, and also for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day, I realize how much my own outer and inner life is built upon the favors of my fellow men, both living and dead, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received. And now we will remember those whom we have loved and lived in community. And I invite you to take a look afterwards at all of the pictures that are surrounding us. And I became awakened with something today. Those who love us, remember us, and picture us as we have met and become loved. When we see our loved one, we don't see many times someone today. We look at their face and we see someone years ago when we first had that spark of love in our hearts. I was awakened and reminded of that today. And it made me smile. And it reminded me to shed some tears of joy and sorrow and much, much love. So as you look at these pictures, you may see one or two, and when we look at them, we may be reminded of the first time we met. Maybe one is first love, and what lovely memories that is. So let us remember those whom we have loved and lived in community. Marilyn Baker, Charlotte Azeltine, Richard Barr, Donald Denis, Olive Dysart, Darlene Enquist, Belda Fedor, Richard Gardner, Merlin Harari, Al Hodges, Ruth Hunt, Walter Arion, Lonnie Lassman, Larry Lipp, Sally McGuire, Jeanette Marenbach, Charlotte Morales, Charlotte Newcomb, Lucille Poole, Paula Rubin, Marilyn Rustin, Georgia Sanders, Frank Sesno, Mary Sheridan, Stephen Shutt, Norma Simon, Odette Smith, Joan Smith, Marjorie Smith, Judith Solomon, Anita Weiss, Joan Yu. And as we read and as we hear these names, I can't help but smile as I remember our conversations, maybe sitting at the dinner table, a laughter shared, and sometimes a tear shed. So let us remember the good times that have created memories, the tears and challenges we have shared with those who have left this earthly world. They will always live with us in our hearts. We live today while remembering how we have been changed by the past, with those we have known, those we have loved. Let us open our hearts to live fully each day. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. And at this time, I will share with you a story of life. Some of you may have heard it before. This was a gift that was given to me. I do not know the author. But it is the story of birth and death. A baby lay in the womb. A voice came saying, "It's time to leave." But the baby said, "I like it where I am." The voice said, "Haven't you noticed? You're crowded. There's no room left for you to grow." The baby said, "I don't mind. It's all I've known." The voice said, "There's so much more out there." And the baby said, "Like what?" "Like rainbows and music and all kinds of love. Like mountains and rivers and ideas and books." The baby said, "What are those? I don't understand." The voice said, "How could you? You don't know enough, but the time has come." And the child was born into the world, leaving behind the debris it no longer needed. Someday, perhaps very soon, who knows, a voice will come to me. It's time to leave. I'll say, "I like it here. It's all I remember." The voice will say, "There's so much more." I'll say, "Like what? What could be better?" The voice will say, "You don't know enough, or see, or hear, or taste, or love enough to understand. Just trust. It is time to go. And I will be born eternally into his everlasting kingdom, leaving behind the earthly tent I no longer need." As I invite you to look at all of these beautiful pictures, have some refreshments, tell a story, share yourself. Your presence is the greatest gift that you can give someone. And I invite you to take a rock. And on each rock, there is a word. Focus, That one's for me. Freedom, love, peace, laugh. I like that one a lot. Honor, wisdom, and many others. Take one that speaks to your heart. And we give thanks this day for our brothers and sisters who have completed their earthly journey. We give thanks for their presence, keeping them in our hearts. We return to where we have begun. We remember those who have shared the pilgrimage of life and have been called home. And as we leave this space made sacred by our presence and reflection, I invite you to choose one of these stones for meditation, with a word to be placed in our hearts. And as we live body, mind, and spirit in our world, I offer each and every one of you thanks. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing your presence. Thank you for sharing community here in this special place and at this time. So, share a story, live fully, remember well, laugh all the time, cry when needed, but know we are not alone and we are loved. Thank you so much for being here. So let's go forth and share ourselves.